Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here, and I hope you're all well, and I hope you enjoyed the new intro. Yes, a new intro. I decided I'm going to try and be a little bit better this year. I'm going to try and do some better edits, and just generally do better videos, better quality so to say. So we're starting today in the Ki-43 Hayabusa, or Oscar as they were commonly called by the Allies. Now, the Ki-43, the Nakajima Ki-43, was the plane that replaced the Ki-23. I say I'm being more professional and all that stuff, but I've completely forgotten the plane that it replaced, and I don't have it on all my little things. Oh joy of joys. Anyway, yes, the Nakajima plane. Now, this was a fantastic little plane. The plane was severely outmatched when it came later in the war, but in the earlier aspects of the war, this plane was fantastic. Now I'm going to do a full proper history of series on Japanese planes soon, so this is not a history of, this is mainly looking at some awesome dogfights and my luck today, but a little bit of history is needed on these planes. Now, the main thing people will say about Japanese planes is they were tinderboxes, and they were. There's no denying it, they were a tinderbox. They didn't have self-sealing fuel tanks, but they were also made of very light materials. Now we've got a Fury and a Gladiator on my 6 right now. I'm not in a very good position at the moment, but I'm going to use my speed and my manoeuvrability to my advantage right now. And this is where this plane really comes into its own. So we've got a Gladiator and a Fury on my back. So they're firing the 7.7s at me. I'm going to spin round. Now they're going to outturn me. I'm not going to be able to outturn these guys, but I just go underneath them, and I'm hoping that they weren't as experienced as me. Now one of them crashes into the wall, and the other one crashes into the wall. So we have completely outflown those two. Shouldn't laugh. It's always hard when you're new to the game, or you have those bad days and you have those crashes, but I was pretty happy to have outflown and outmaneuvered them. So we've got a Hurricane coming in on us. Now, Hurricane can be dangerous. Now, as I said, we're a very light fighter, and that was the design ethos of this plane, was to be a very light fighter. The Ki-43 was designed with that purpose in mind. It wasn't designed to be a heavy fighter. It wasn't designed to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Americans, and it wasn't designed with big guns in mind. One of the reasons it has that slightly strange looking telescope out of the front was because it had a bit more zoom on it. And the main thing about this plane was it was designed to be accurate, and the way the Japanese pilots flew was accuracy. So they would keep the plane as light as possible, and keep bullets to a minimum, fuel to a minimum, and weight to a minimum. And that included, things like armour and all of that stuff. Now I'm also trying now not to get shot by my teammate, which is often the case at low BRs. So really nice fight here with this Hurricane. Really great flying by this guy. Now I was also not very used to these guns. As you can see, my shooting is appalling at the moment. And getting used to Japanese guns has been a thing that I've struggled with for so long. I really do struggle with Japanese planes. We crit the win, so we get the tail control done on him, and that's him out of the game. So, phew. That was one heck of a dogfight though. Really, really, really glad I came out of that on top. And, well, this was my first game in the Ki-43. It's a plane that I've owned for a long time, but I've never flown. And I've decided to ace the sort of line, and I've been having such good fun. Alright, we're going to jump forward to another battle now. Now you join me in the Ki-44, the Nakajima follow-on for the Ki-43, a plane that was very unpopular with the pilots at the time. When it first came out, the pilots of the Ki-44 really didn't like it. It wasn't quite as manoeuvrable, it wasn't as nimble as its predecessor, the 43. However, it had much better firepower and its climb rate was amazing. This thing was a very good plane. This thing was a very, very, very handy plane. Now we've got a Yak 1 here. Now the Ki-44, one thing actually I should mention before I forget, is actually the Ki-43 went on to have almost half of the victories for the Imperial Japanese Air Force, which is just outstanding. You know, for such a light plane, it was a very, very good plane. But the 44, yeah, the 44, now we're in the Ki-44-2 Hai, which is the model that has 4 50 caliber 12.7mm HO-103 machine guns, 2 in the nose and 2 in the wings. Now I think because I've got it at standard, I don't think I have that set up on it. I think I have the 7.7mm in it still. Can't remember exactly, but this is stock again. This thing is a stock plane. I'm playing it stock again. And this was my first game in this plane as well, so my very first taste of it. Now, the Ki-44 is a distinctive plane. It's a very, very good climber. That's one of the big things about this. This is a fantastic interceptor, and this thing will get altitude so fast. It is a beautiful plane to fly, and that's one of the things I'm finding with the Japanese planes, is they're very fragile, but they are very, very nimble and very beautiful to fly. Whereas the Russian planes seem to be sort of made out of, you know, Stalinium and just very heavy and hard and chunky and made to last and built to go. Avoiding my teammate's fire there. The I-16, we crit its tail and it's going down and we get the win. Nice. So that's always nice when you get the kill. Yeah, the Ki-44 started sort of coming into the world in around about 1940. About 41, I think, was its really sort of combat prowess. But again, a really nice plane. Now, the Shoki, or I think it was the Allied was the Tojo, was it? I think, for it. Although pretty much every Allied pilot would call it a Zero, because generally whenever they saw anything, they would call it a Zero. Much like how every tanker in Europe would call every German tank a Tiger. Now, we've got the lovely stock rounds here, and a bit of a fight with the P-40. Now, this was the kind of things that these planes were facing on a constant basis. P-40s, they're pretty much the most common plane that they would fight against, usually from the Chinese Air Force. Now, one thing I do want to point out is just underneath you can see the flaps, the sort of butterfly-shaped flaps, and these were a really, really cool design feature, and they really helped with the turning and manoeuvrability of this plane at low speed. And this gives this plane a sort of legendary turning ability. And this is how these planes just had such great turning and manoeuvrability. Now, if my ally doesn't shoot me first, I would try and get there, but the 109 decided he wanted to make sure that he got the kill. So we got an assist there at least, but yeah, just a little bit sketchy there from that 109, which is always nice. Starting to run out of ammunition, so I decided to return back to base. Now, as I come in for landing here, the Ki-44 was a pure interceptor. The emphasis was being able to get airspeed and rate of climb rather than manoeuvrability. Now, this plane didn't have the same manoeuvrability as the 43. As I said, the plane just climbs like nothing else. This is for the BR. This thing is just amazing at climbing. Now we're just taking a landing, and nice, perfect landing here. I was really happy with that landing, and you get to see this butterfly flaps fully down now. The plane slowly comes to a stop, and as it does, I start to question why I'm not getting repaired or rearmed, because I've landed at the wrong airfield, like a complete numpty. I just thought I'd have to include this in the video because I'd feel bad if I didn't. Okay, and we're back from a successful landing at our own airfield, as well as a good takeoff. So we've got an IL-2 left on our team, and myself, and we're against 2 enemy planes. Now I don't know if they're both fighters, or if there's... I'm pretty sure there's a bomber in there, because I'm pretty sure one has bomb damage on there. But I say to the IL-2, don't fly too close to the airfield, let's attack tanks, kill tanks and win that way. So right now I'm using that climbing advantage to my advantage, really. So we spot the SM-79, but then the F4U comes into sights. Now the F4U is a very, very nasty plane to deal with, and this is one of those planes that can be terrifying. And it was one of the planes that the Ki-44 would often face. Now the F4U has got tunnel vision, and it's tunnelled on the IL-2. Now I take a few shots at it, and it completely ignores me, and this is really, really handy now because my aiming is absolutely god-awful right now. Again, this is my first flight in this plane. I want to close up to some relatively decent gaps, and right here is where I start using those combat flaps to my advantage, the butterfly flaps. It gives you a little bit of extra lift as you go through a turn, and it means you can turn faster and harder. Now we get our first crit of the plane there, we get the right wing. Now he's still going for our IL-2, so we dart in, trying our best to save our friend. Now we go into a nosedive, and we're going to come up on him. We zoom in, we get a hit on his flap. Okay, good. But he's still flying. However, the IL-2 can now dodge him with a lot more ease. A final salvo takes off the wing. Phew, yeah, a valiant effort there to try and take out that IL-2, but too tunnel focused. The IL-2 is alive, and so am I. I also know that there was that SM-79 as well, so some tasty prey. So we start climbing again. The SM-79 is just below us. But my ammunition count is a little bit low here. Using all that ammunition on the Corsair really did punish me. So I've only really got one fly past of this, and that's all I have available to myself. So keep some altitude here so I don't get his tail gunners activating. I generally want to come in at a quite high angle on the SM-79 because then you've got less chance of being hit by gunners. It would be better to go underneath him, but I am at a backwards angle here, so it's not the best point. Swoop in. A couple of short bursts. We damage his fuel tank, but that's it. That's all she wrote. And now we're out of ammunition, and we're on our way home, dodging returning fire. And that's the end of that match, so we will head on to our next round. Okay, now you join me in the Ki-61 ICO, the first production version. Now, this one had a retractable tail wheel, which was something different for the Japanese aircraft. It also had a very different thing for the Japanese aircraft. I'll talk about that in a moment, though. But it was a little bit more heavily armed than the prior versions. It also had a little bit of armour on the seat, if I recall. So, it had twin 7.7mm in the wings, and twin synchronised 12.7mm in the nose. And these twin 12.7mm in the nose are really beautiful guns. One other big thing for this plane was self-sealing fuel tanks, and that was something that the Japanese were really calling out for. Now, the plane was actually mistaken for a BF-109 or a Italian S-50 Italian planes, Italian fighters at the time, and it got the nickname of Mike originally, and then it was better known as a Tony. The plane was originally not very liked by the Japanese combat corps, well, the people looking at making it, because it was very different. It didn't have a radial engine, for instance. It had an inline engine. Now we're getting onto the back of a Spitfire here, and again completely buggering up our shots. We get damaged because we've got somebody on our 6. We take a shot, we take the Spitfire, suffers damage to the cooling system, of course, like all Spitfires do when they get hit. But finally we manage to saw it in part, and we take down the Spitfire. Again, we take a hit on our tail, but the better durability of this plane is showing straight away. We can take those hits, and we're able to take a few licks and live. Now, this plane was built with the licensed DB601 engine, known as the HA40 by Kawasaki. And the plane was considered to be, well, it wasn't, they didn't think it was going to be very good. So to address the concerns, Kawasaki staged a fly-off between a Ki-61 prototype, the Ki-43, the Ki-44, a lag-free, a Messerschmitt Bf109 E7, and a captured Curtiss P40 Warhawk. Now, the Ki-61 proved superior in every area other than manoeuvrability, where the Ki-43 won, which is no surprise really. The Ki-43 weighs nothing, and it's a fantastic plane, but this swung the Japanese to making this plane, and the Ki-61 was really the only mass-produced Japanese aircraft to have an inline engine, so it was very rare to have these water-cooled engines. Now we've got the Spitfire here, we set him on fire, last blast we take him out, second Spitfire kill of the game. Now we're still keeping our eyes open because there was a heck of a dogfight going on there. And again, this was my first match in this plane. Thrown in at the deep end, really didn't know how it was going to go. And I must say, these planes are very user-friendly, which is very, very nice. Now, the Ki-61 was a very decent climber. It was made to operate at the mid to sort of low range of the altitude levels, but it was a very good fighter, sort of in all areas, really. One of the things that this plane ended up doing was part of a special attack unit, and it was part of the ramming crew. Basically, an attack used against the B-29s. Going up and basically ramming them. Yeah, the aircraft was stripped of their fuselage armament, protective systems, in order to attain the required speed and altitude. However, these attacks were not sort of truly kamikaze attack, because the pilots were sort of trying to escape afterwards. It was similar to the German technique that they had in the late war period, so it wasn't that true kamikaze attack. Now, the Ki-61 is also known as the Hin, which is the Flying Swallow, and a very pretty name. It is a very pretty plane as well, and as I said, it does have that Italian look to it. Just switch to that. You can sort of see why the Americans in the Pacific were very confused by this plane, because it does look very very European, very sort of Italian, very German, and of course having that inline engine really makes it a very different shape. But one thing I do want to point out is actually the cockpit, and the cockpit is very, very unique, at least for me. It's got a slight dome to it, so the pilot can get a very good area of view. And if you look down to, just spin around, just down here, there's actually an extra bit of glass here, so the pilot can see in this direction. So the plane has a fantastic visibility range. And this was something that was noted by its pilots. They really did enjoy the visibility of this plane. Okay, and this mission is basically just nothing much else happens from here, unfortunately. So we will jump into the next battle. Okay, and you now join me in the Ki-61 Series 1 Otsu, the second production fighter variant. Now, the tail wheel retraction mechanism was a bit unreliable and tended to get stuck, so the second variant got rid of that, So it kept the tail wheel out all the time. However, the machine guns were changed. There was now two 12.7mm replacing the wing-mounted 7.7mm machine guns, making this a deadly vehicle with very high caliber rounds on board. The plane still had that fantastic speed retention, flight characteristics, and of course the DB601 engine on board, or the HA40 engine as it was licensed to be built. So we've got an LA5. Now, low tiers are just such fun. They're pretty much the Wild West, where you're basically just all flying for each other and just enjoying yourselves. Damaged the LA5 there, damaged his tail, and that's him pretty much out of the game. The vulture's coming to pick him off, but he's going down. Now he's still managing to fly, so great job by this guy to keep flying, but finally we finish him off with a great big burst of lead into the main airframe of that plane. Now, as you saw there, we were going into a bit of a cesspool of fighters there, and it was getting a little bit risky. But we sort of cut them down quite quickly. And one thing I've got to say about these matches, again, first match in this plane. Every game you've seen has been a stock plane. A stock plane in its first game. The first time I've flown it, the first time I've used it. And that said something about these planes, how user-friendly they are. Or maybe it says that I'm getting better at flying planes. I'm not sure. But the planes are just so user-friendly. They're so easy to use, and they just respond so well. I'm really enjoying the Japanese air aviation tree at the moment. My mind will probably change once I get to their slower sort of firing 20mm and 30mm guns, well, cannons, because I've always struggled with those, but we'll see how it goes. For now though, I'm really enjoying it. So we've got an F4U here. I'm not sure what this guy was thinking, Mr. Knott. He was very focused on getting some ground targets, so maybe he was working on one of the Christmas events. Naval targets and things like that. So we're going to go in again, an F4U, so we've got to be a bit careful. Very dangerous plane, and a plane we really need to not be in front of, so as long as we can get behind it, we're fine. But in the KI-61, we're generally going to be able to do that. Now, although this plane is much bigger, it's still smaller than most planes that you come up against. But Japanese planes tend to be that little bit smaller, a little bit lighter in design. So we sweep down, and we're going to come up on the Corsair, and I think this guy's just given up at this stage. We set him on fire, one last burst, just to make sure, because usually what happens is somebody will put out the fire. Fires always go out for me. I don't know what it is, but they always go out. So we get our name on the board. That's 2 kills. So pretty happy with that. Now we've still got some ammunition left. We've still got a bit of fuel left. We're just going to do a bit of a scout around. Now there's the Whirlwind on the enemy team, and that's a dangerous foe. And then there's one fighter left as well, I think. So we'll see what's happening with the area. So I can see the Whirlwind in the distance there. He's RTB for sure. Probably out of ammunition, but I also see a second dot in the sky, so somebody's coming towards me. So I'm going to mentally prepare myself here, get ready, take a deep breath and things like that, because when you're going into a head-on situation, I don't like head-ons. It becomes a bit of the sort of meta for mid to late game. It's people going for head-ons with you rather than trying to get on your 6 and trying to dogfight. But we've got a Yak 9 here. So a Yak 9, again, a very, very deadly plane, and a plane that can be a struggle to go up against. Again, we don't want to go head-on with him. Those big 20mm cannons really could cause some damage, and we do not want to get in front of those. So what we're going to do here is get him into a downwards turn, and he's decided he's going to try and turn fight with us, which is really not a good idea. Although this plane isn't as manoeuvrable as the 43, it's still manoeuvrable. It's more manoeuvrable than the Ki-44, in fact, which says a lot. So this Yak 9 really does not have a chance. The Yak 9 is quite a heavy plane as well, so really going to struggle in this aspect. Now our engine is also a bit more powerful than the Yaks as well, and with that lighter airframe, more powerful engine, better guns. Although the K has a very big cannon, I think it's got the 40mm cannon in it. I'm trying to think now. I get my Yaks mixed up sometimes. We're really not going to have much problem here, and he's really giving us a bit of an easy target. Now he slows right down, trying to stall, trying to get us to fly past him, but we set him on fire and his engine's dead. Take a couple more shots to get a few more points on the board, but that is the end of that Yak 9. And that is the end of my ammunition as well, so it's an RTB from here. So one thing I wanted to do is we'll jump to the end screen of this game, and we'll finish up. I hope you've liked this slightly different video format as well, and I hope you liked the new intro as well. And I will see you at the end screen for this match. Okay, and with that match, we'll come to a close. So again, just the okay. Every match I've had in a Japanese plane down the KI line, the first match I've managed to get like 1 or 2 kills and had excellent games and wins. It's taken me the longest it's taken me to ace one of these planes is 3 games, and it's ridiculous. Like, I've just been having just surreal luck lately, which is odd for me. Doesn't happen very often. Anyway, we got there a Shadow Strike. Rank does not matter, which is always nice, especially when you're under tiered. Final Blow, Terror of the Sky, Balancer, and Bulletproof, of course. And we did finish top of the teams as well. Big shout out there to Skyline Shield. Thank you for not running out the game and just going for the landing and saving yourself a repair bill. It's always nice when people do that. I do kind of enjoy it. But also a nice healthy amount of lions and research points, of course. I've now unlocked the KI-108 as well, so really going through the Japanese line quite quickly. I think it's definitely got to do a bit with flying the same sort of planes. I think maybe because I've been flying such poor planes for a time. I don't mean that nastily. I mean, you know, bombers and attackers and stuff like that. I'm not used to having a fighter that actually responds to me and has a good presence to it. So these Japanese planes are just really working for me, which is nice. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and first video of the year actually, so yes, Happy New Year to everybody. I hope 2019 is good, and I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.